Hi guys, hi loves, welcome to another video. Today we will be looking at how to properly place your closure for wig making. Yes, to my returning subscribers, thank you. If you are new here, kindly do well to subscribe to my channel. Now let's get into it. We are going to be needing the hand stitching thread, a scissors, and a C-pin. I will be going in with a C-pin. You can use your straight pin if you want. You also need your canvas head according to the size of your client. I will be using the 22 inches. In this video, I will be using the 4x4 closure. This closure has already been bleached. Now, this is the closure I will be using. So let's get into it. You want to divide the closure into two. So we are doing this. The aim is to get the middle part of the closure. So when you get the middle part of the closure, you can use a pencil to mark it, or you can just use your hand like I did and then pin it in onto your canvas head. Now you go ahead to pin the back of your closure. You drag it and then you pin. Did you see how I dragged it gently? Drag it and pin. Now you want to go ahead and do for the other side as well. You also drag and then you pin it. Yes, and then you go ahead and do for the front side. You pin it as well. Now you move to the other side and do the same thing as what you did for the other side. Now you are going to drag and pin. Now this is to make sure that you want your closure to be in place whilst you are stitching. You can use as many pins as you want. So all you have to do is that make sure your closure is lying down flat before you go ahead to stitch. Now you can make sure you adjust as much as you want, because what you need to get is a flat laid closure. So it is okay for you to adjust it as much as you want. Now this is how your closure should be looking like after you have pinned it down. It should be half an inch. Can you see above the dome cap? So you can see that the closure is a bit in front of the dome cap. It's not necessarily right directly on the dome cap. Can you see where the hairline is? It's not directly on the dome cap. It should be half an inch above it. Now you go ahead to divide it and then feel it to see if it is lying down flat. Then from there we go ahead to clip our excess hair, and then we start with the sewing of the closure. So after clipping of my excess hair, I just decided to go in and then still adjust my closure a bit. Yes, so like I said, you are making sure your closure is lying down flat. So it is okay for you to adjust it as much as you want, because you don't want to make any mistakes. Make sure from front to back to the side is lying down flat as it should be. Now this is how it should be. Always remember your closure should be half an inch above your dome cap. It shouldn't be directly on it. So this is how the sides of your closure should be lying down flat. Can you see that? Now we are going to be using the hand stitching thread. So you go ahead and then thread your needle. So, and then also make a knot at the end. Make sure your thread is long enough so that you don't have to go back and then make another thread. So my thread is long enough for this sewing. So let's get into it. Now we are going to start sewing. We are sewing from the very tip of the closure. You can start from either the other side or this side, is okay. Now I am a lefty, and so as you can see, I'm using my left hand to sew. Now you pick from the dome cap and pass your needle through the closure, and then pull it out, and then pass the needle in between your thread, and then you pull it just like what I am doing for it to tie, to make a knot. So that is what you want to be doing. Now from there we are not going to be doing the same technique. Now we are going to be using another technique. This time around we are going to pass the thread behind the needle. Now you pass it through the dome cap, pass it through to the closure, and then you pass your thread behind the needle, and then you drag it so your thread becomes 3. Did you see that? Yes. Then let's do it again. So you go in, pass it, and then go behind the needle, then you pull it. And so this is how we are going to be sewing all through to get to the other side of the closure. This is how we are going to be sewing it all through till we are about to make a knot. So you don't want to change the way or the technique you are using to sew your closure, because it is going to give you a different look if you change the technique. So you have to make sure whilst sewing all through, you are passing your thread behind the needle before you pull it out. Now, so while stitching, you want to make sure your pins are still intact. Do not remove your pins when you've not gotten to where the pin is. Make sure you stitch past where the pins are before you remove your pins, because when you lift it, when you remove your pins before getting to that side, it is going to lift, and you don't want that. So keep the pins in place and then continue sewing. So can you see how flat my enclosure is still lying down? As you can see, my enclosure has not lifted. You don't want your closure to lift whilst you are sewing. So make sure you keep your pins in place. Make sure you keep your pins in place to avoid your closure lifting and then making mistakes. Just make sure your pins are still intact whilst you are sewing. Now, as you can see, we are using the same technique we are passing the thread behind the needle, and so you can see from where we started to where I've gotten to, I have the same look. It looks the same, it hasn't changed. So make sure you are doing the same thing all through. One thing you would also want to take into consideration is that you should be making close firm stitches, because you don't want your client to give you the complaints of hair closure falling off, or the threads are falling off from the closure. And so try, because you are not using a machine, try your best to make close firm stitches. Do you get that? Now we are almost at the end, the other end of the closure, and so we are going to use the same technique we used in starting the sewing to end our sewing. But for now, we are still passing the thread behind the needle, as you can see. So now I'm giving you a closer view of how my stitches are looking like. As you can see, it looks very neat. So make sure your stitches are as neat as it can be. So we are going to go ahead and pass the needle in between the two threads, and then we pull it. Now after that, it becomes a knot, and so you go ahead to make your knot that you want. Let's do a last one. We do the same thing. Then we make sure you cut your excess lace, your excess thread, and then you tie a knot 3-4 times is okay, and voila, we are done. So I guess this was very easy and then detailed as well. So this is how your closure should be looking like. This is how my closure is looking like. Very neat. Closure is lying down flat as it should be. So guys, please, if this video was helpful, kindly do well to subscribe. Don't leave without subscribing. See you next time. this video was helpful, please don't forget to subscribe.